Unleash your unstoppable self. Carl Jung's radical path to emotional mastery. Ever long to be utterly unshakable, immune to the sting of criticism, the ache of rejection, the emptiness of loss, or the sharp knife of betrayal? Have you dared to dream of a day when the silent pain, the gnawing anguish that devours you from within, even as you project a façade of perfection, finally vanishes? Perhaps you're utterly exhausted from the relentless pressure of pleasing everyone, from maintaining an ironclad image that demands perpetual strength, when all your soul craves is a fleeting moment of respite from the burden of appearing untouchable. Prepare for a truth so daring, few have voiced it. As long as you desperately cling to avoiding pain, it will remain your cruel master, wielding absolute control over you, while you attempt to numb your senses, to shield your heart, to vanish into the shadows. You are destined to remain a captive, enslaved by every external event, the scathing words that wound, the crushing actions that disappoint, the suffocating silences that extinguish your inner light. This isn't a sign of weakness. It is, in fact, the raw reality for the vast majority of humanity, with the only distinction being how masterfully some disguise their inner turmoil. Carl Jung, a titan of depth psychology, profoundly asserted that our identity isn't defined by what befalls us, but rather by the audacious choice of what we forge ourselves into, and therein lies the ultimate secret. The path isn't about erecting impenetrable shields against the world, nor is it about transforming into a cold, indifferent, or untouchable entity. It's about the radical act of integration, illuminating every concealed facet that presently torments you from the shadows. For true strength isn't the blissful absence of pain, but the blazing clarity of self-awareness, even as your spirit bleeds. If you've journeyed to this point, it's no mere coincidence. This revelation is for you, you who are weary of constantly inflicting self-harm through the actions of others. You who feel perpetually disarmed emotionally, as if external forces wield an inexplicable power over your very being. I am here to unveil a revolutionary truth. It doesn't have to be this way. But to grasp this freedom, you must confront uncomfortable truths that may initially sting. Yet this very pain, perhaps for the first time, holds the key to your liberation. Let the transformation commence. You mistakenly believe that your suffering originates externally from the deeds of others, from careless words, from the agonizing abandonments you've endured, from the shattering betrayals you never anticipated. But the truth is a raw, brutal shock. None of these external events possess the power to truly wound you, unless an existing, unhealed wound already festers deep within your soul. What truly torments you isn't merely what others inflict. It is what these harrowing experiences violently ignite within you. The self-defeating narrative, you endlessly replay the ancient unaddressed trauma, the gaping void you desperately conceal beneath layers of false strength, hollow pride, and a frantic yearning to appear perfectly well-adjusted. Jung illuminates a profound insight. The agony we endure from the external world is nothing more than a chilling reflection of the unintegrated aspects festering within our internal landscape. This is precisely why some individuals can navigate utterly devastating situations with unwavering clarity, while others collapse in despair from a mere insignificant comment. The true battle isn't about what transpires externally. It's about where it strikes within your very core. And now, brace yourself for an unsettling revelation. You continue to suffer profoundly because, at a deep level, you still cling to the illusion that you can dictate how the world should treat you. You tirelessly strive to be good enough, intelligent enough, powerful enough, understanding enough, as if these desperate efforts could magically shield you from pain. But control is a mirage, a cruel deception. And as long as you desperately clutch onto this illusion, you will remain trapped in an agonizing state of perpetual tension, fruitlessly attempting to foresee the unforeseeable and escape the inescapable. Desperate to silence the suffering? Then cease your futile efforts to shield yourself from it. What you truly crave isn't more control, but a profound expansion of awareness. As long as you cling to the belief that others must change for your pain to subside, you will remain a helpless slave to their every action. Your radiant freedom ignites the very moment you grasp this pivotal truth. Anything originating externally only wields power if it resonates with an echo already stirring within you. And this, precisely, is where the authentic battlefield unfolds, the mighty unconscious. That which you cannot see, cannot comprehend, and cannot command, utterly commands you. Prepare to plunge into the depths, for this is where genuine transformation begins. The most monumental deception ever foisted upon you is the myth that you are in complete command of your life. Awaken, for you are not, at least not while you drift through existence on autopilot, reacting blindly, feeling emotions without understanding their origin, making choices only to later sabotage them. Carl Jung unveiled this undeniable truth with chilling clarity. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And that, my friend, is precisely the seismic shift occurring within you right now. The raw pain you feel, the volatile anger that erupts without warning, the profound sadness that engulfs you inexplicably, none of this is haphazard. These are urgent messages, desperate cries from forgotten, ignored, and brutally repressed fragments of your very being. Jung christened this shadowy realm the unconscious, and it is far more than a nebulous cloud of thoughts. It is a dynamic, potent force, an intricate web of memories, traumas, desires, and fears that you staunchly refuse to confront, yet which relentlessly dictate your feelings and actions. You ponder why certain words shatter you while others remain untouched. It's because those words strike raw, sensitive nerves deep within you that remain vibrantly alive. And if they persist, it's because you've never dared to face them. Instead, you've merely swept them under the psychological rug, only to repeatedly stumble over them. Jung declared with startling clarity, "We cannot change anything until we accept it." Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. And what has been your relentless pursuit? Self-judgment, brutal repression, and suffocating self-silence, as if these desperate acts could ever solve anything. The chilling truth is, the unconscious never simply vanishes because you choose to ignore it. Instead, it devises increasingly perilous avenues to manifest itself. In destructive relationship patterns you endlessly repeat, in cycles of self-sabotage you feel powerless to break, in torrents of anxiety and fear that surge precisely when life appears to be flourishing. This is no stroke of bad luck. It is your unconscious, desperately striving to jolt you awake, yet you stubbornly cling to slumber. Do you truly yearn to become someone immune to perpetual hurt? Then cease your frantic flight from the depths of your inner world. For as long as your unconscious remains a mystery to you, you will forever be a puppet to your emotions. Paradoxically, the more vehemently you attempt to shield yourself from external pain, the more agonizingly vulnerable you become to the internal torment. But there is a glorious escape, and it lies not in defense, but in the radical act of integrating yourself. For becoming truly untouchable is not an act of resistance. It is an act of profound, revolutionary self-knowledge. Let us now unveil the astonishing meaning of being an unshaken individual, and why this monumental strength emanates not from a fortress of armor, but from the boundless courage of acceptance. Let us forge onward. The majority foolishly believe the sole refuge from pain is self-imposed isolation. They meticulously construct towering walls, don elaborate masks, forge emotional armor, and painstakingly pretend that nothing, absolutely nothing, affects them. They defiantly proclaim, "I simply don't care anymore. Nothing penetrates my defenses." Yet, deep within, they bleed ceaselessly, corroding from the inside out. Because the fundamental issue was never the act of feeling itself. The true dilemma lies in the agonizing lack of knowing what you feel and why. This profound disconnect plagues only those who have not yet dared to truly know themselves. Jung articulated this with piercing accuracy. Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when touching a human soul, be just another human soul. And that very human soul, which you so determinedly bury beneath a façade of strength, invulnerability, and rigid control, is screaming, begging to be seen. True emotional fortitude has absolutely nothing to do with adopting a cold demeanor, ignoring pain, sidestepping conflict, or feigning indifference. It is profoundly about the radical act of integration, of acceptance, of fearlessly illuminating every concealed facet that you have meticulously interred in the dark recesses of your being. You do not attain untouchable status by erecting an impassable barrier between yourself and the world. You become utterly untouchable when you awaken to the revolutionary truth that nothing external can shatter what you have already profoundly embraced within yourself. When you courageously integrate your deepest shadows, your consuming fears, your perceived flaws, your gnawing insecurities, you cease to react impulsively to every external trigger. Instead, you choose your response. You are no longer an emotional puppet. That is the essence of true, untamed freedom. Jung termed this breathtaking journey individuation, the arduous yet glorious process of becoming precisely who you are meant to be. Not what others demand, not what you falsely believed you should be to gain acceptance, but what brilliantly erupts from your core, from the sacred convergence of light and shadow, between your ego and the vast unconscious. Individuation, Jung passionately clarified, is not a quest for perfection, but a profound odyssey of integration. You are not required to become a better person. You simply need to become whole. And here, a whispered secret that no one ever dared to reveal. The more frantically you flee from pain, the more relentlessly it pursues you. The harder you strive to remain unaffected, the more exquisitely fragile you become. But when you boldly confront your own gaping wounds, when you embrace your authentic self with all its radiant beauty and hidden ugliness, its noble aspirations and its charmus, absolutely nothing from the outside possesses the power to dismantle you. However, this transformative path demands an extraordinary measure of courage. The courage to gaze unblinkingly within, the courage to cast off your carefully constructed masks, the courage to feel. For it is precisely within the crucible of pain that the ultimate key to your magnificent transformation lies concealed. In the next profound revelation, we will unearth how suffering, far from being a dreaded adversary, can paradoxically become the sacred gateway to your unparalleled strength. Let us plunge deeper, and this time, without a trace of fear. You were conditioned to despise pain from your earliest memories. You were indoctrinated that suffering was a mark of weakness, that tears were futile, that profound emotion rendered you utterly vulnerable. And so, you embarked on a desperate flight, to avoid, to deny, to escape. Yet, the more frantically you flee from suffering, the more relentlessly it pursues you. And most horrifyingly, it morphs, disguising itself as gnawing anxiety, explosive anger, soul-crushing apathy, suffocating boredom, and enigmatic self-destructive impulses whose origins you cannot even fathom. Ignored pain doesn't simply vanish. It relentlessly digs treacherous tunnels deep within your being until, without a shred of warning, your entire inner world spectacularly collapses. Jung, however, perceived suffering through a radically different lens. He believed pain was the very messenger of the soul, the blaring alarm of the unconscious, the profound language the self-your true entire being employs to seize your undivided attention. He powerfully stated, "Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't push her away. Invite her to sit down, offer her a coffee, and listen to what she has to say. But you, alas, do not listen. You silence yourself, distract yourself, incessantly busy yourself, and numb yourself You do absolutely everything to avert your gaze from what truly matters. What profound truth is this pain desperately trying to reveal to you? The stark reality is that suffering inflicts such agony because you are still locked in a fierce, internal war with your own being. One part of you yearns desperately to evolve, while another clings stubbornly to the familiar comfort of stagnation. There is an undeniable force within you, screaming for transformative change, yet your ego, addicted to its illusion of control, relentlessly attempts to suffocate that vital call. And it is in this brutal friction that the agony of pain is born, because change hurts, growth hurts. The letting go of antiquated beliefs hurts, severing toxic bonds hurts, allowing what no longer serves you to perish hurts. All of this is a profound mourning, an arduous internal process of death and magnificent rebirth. But it is precisely within this sacred space of ruin and deconstruction that something glorious and new can finally emerge. For when every certainty within you crumbles, when your defenses are shattered, when pain lays bare your raw vulnerability, you can, at last, glimpse your authentic self stripped of protective layers, devoid of performance, naked without the mask. And at that precise, incandescent moment, suffering transcends into something sacred, because it brings you to your knees before the only force capable of setting you truly free, yourself. Jung understood this profound truth. He knew that suffering is not a system failure, but an intrinsic, vital part of the sacred process. Pain is not the road's brutal end. It is the breathtaking beginning of the majestic journey towards individuation. The tragedy is that most individuals surrender before ever venturing across that ominous, shadowy valley. They flee, they distract themselves, they retreat to the shallow surface. But not you. If you've persisted this far, it's a testament to your readiness to embark upon this epic crossing. In the next profound segment, we will unravel the mechanics of this transformative journey, revealing how the path of individuation, no matter how solitary and brutal it may appear, is the ultimate key to your enduring liberation. Let us continue our descent into the depths. A precious few possess the sheer courage to even begin the arduous journey of individuation, and an even smaller fraction dare to complete it. For this path offers no soft comforts, no hollow guarantees, no flimsy protection for your fragile ego. It utterly demolishes it. Jung brilliantly described individuation as the profound process of becoming your authentic self. But this, above all, signifies the radical unlearning of everything you thought you were. And that unlearning inflicts a pain more searing than any external rejection, because you begin to grasp that so much of what defined you until this moment was a cunning illusion. You are not merely your achievements. You are not defined by your traumas. You are not the carefully crafted image you constructed to desperately seek love, respect, or admiration. All of this was a temporary construct, a mere strategy for survival. But survival is not true living. Individuation is life's insistent, booming call to transcend mere survival, to embrace existence beyond limits. It is the precise moment when the powerful unconscious begins to surge, pushing every repressed, hidden, and distorted truth relentlessly to the surface. Jung boldly declared that individuation demands the dissolution of the persona, clarifying that it is merely a mask of collective convenience. In other words, you will be compelled to tear away your very own skin to reveal the raw, magnificent truth that lies beneath. It is within this crucible of transformation that you begin to forge your untouchable essence, not because external forces cease to affect you, but because you have already walked through the consuming fires of self-confrontation. You have bravely faced your inner monsters, stared into the blazing eyes of your shame, your profound neediness, your explosive anger, and declared with unyielding conviction, "I see you, and you no longer control me." This incandescent internal clarity, this radiant lucidity in the face of your own deepest darkness, bestows upon you a formidable strength that remains utterly independent of external approval. fleeting recognition, or the illusion of control. You no longer feel the desperate need to be universally loved. You no longer require victory in every single argument. You no longer have to perpetually appear strong, because you fundamentally know who you are, and absolutely no one can ever seize that profound truth from you. True emotional armor is not a brittle shell. It is an indestructible core, the seamless integration of all your disparate parts into a magnificent center of pure consciousness that stands utterly unshaken amidst the fiercest storms. You may experience the sting of pain, but it will not shatter you. You may be wounded, but you will never lose yourself, for you have transcended mere reactivity and have become whole. You have abandoned the shallow surface existence and have begun to inhabit the profound depths of your being. However, this immense depth comes with a singular price. Loneliness, not because you will be physically alone, but because an elite few possess the courage to accompany you on this extraordinary journey. Most remain ensnared on the surface, trapped behind masks, paralyzed by the terror of feeling. And as you begin to unfetter yourself, an inevitable distancing occurs, but this isn't rejection, it is maturation. You don't distance yourself out of arrogance. You distance yourself because you have simply outgrown the confines where you once desperately hid. This leads us to the monumental final revelation of this odyssey: consciousness as an impenetrable shield. For it is not brute strength that truly safeguards you. It is blazing clarity. In this ultimate segment, we will delve into consciousness as the solitary state where absolutely nothing, no external force, holds dominion over you. Let us complete this transformative crossing together. We are almost there. Now that you've journeyed to this profound juncture, one truth must be declared with crystal clarity. Absolutely, nothing in the external world will ever shield you from suffering if you remain blind to the inner workings of your own being. The words will continue to pierce, the rejections will continue to sting, the losses will relentlessly drag you down until you finally awaken. And awakening is no magical, fleeting event. It is a profound daily choice. It is the audacious act of gazing inward, even when it causes immense discomfort. It is the courageous act of taking absolute responsibility for every single emotion you feel, relinquishing the futile blame of others, the past, or some imagined fate. Carl Jung's timeless wisdom resonates. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. You have spent your entire existence battling the paralyzing fear of inadequacy, the gnawing emptiness of rejection, the searing pain of loneliness, the suffocating anguish of feeling invisible. But what has been your strategy? You hid. You silenced your true voice. You frantically attempted to control everything. You strived for unattainable perfection. You strained to appear invincible. And all of this has led you here, utterly exhausted, weary of the ceaseless war against the world and against yourself. But now, a monumental truth is etched into your soul. True emotional immunity is not a rigid hardness. It is incandescent clarity. It is not about meticulously crafting a defensive armor. It is about limitlessly expanding your awareness. Because when you profoundly comprehend your deepest triggers, your destructive patterns, your core wounds, the actions of others utterly lose their devastating power over you. You will still feel, but you will not drown. You will still suffer, but you will not lose yourself. And that, my friend, changes absolutely everything. What truly shields you is not the futile act of protecting yourself from life. It is the courageous act of plunging deeply into it. Those who cling to the superficial surface are perpetually battered by every fleeting wave. But those who bravely dive into the profound depths know that boundless silence, unwavering stability, and immense power reside far below. And that fearless soul is precisely your destination. And when you begin to live from that sacred place of profound integration, unwavering presence, And radical acceptance. The world may rage and attempt to cast you down, but it will no longer find a vulnerable point to strike. True transformation only truly begins when you refuse to halt at the very first step of this magnificent journey. This is more than just a YouTube channel. It's a space for growth, healing, and becoming who you truly are. And that choice could be clicking that subscribe button right now. Let's rise together.